Okay, so I'm just making this video to talk about the arena problems, and I'm making this because it seems like people are not paying attention to what's actually going on, but they're still weighing in on it. I watched a video the other day by a guy named Murder Inc. That's probably not his real name. And normally his videos are really good. You can tell if you watch his higher end content where he's doing Clan Boss, he's doing, Platinum Arena. He really knows what he's talking about. But then when he goes down to low level arena, everything from his part of the game doesn't exist in low level arena. And so his solutions of learning synergy and all of these things that are good for him, it's not a thing in low level arena. You don't worry about synergy because you don't have access to a champ pool. Even if it's just choosing like some decent champions to be your arena champions. No, because it's not whales that are struggling in silver. It is free to play that are struggling, and they're struggling because of the whales. And free to play are generally restricted to 5, 7, 8 champions, most of whom are not even in good gear. So the idea of like rotating champions through, it just is unrealistic, because not only do you have a small group of champions, those champions have to do everything. And I'll demonstrate this in a second. And so I think if he spent more time, I know he has other accounts, if he spent time on a free-to-play account, no spending whatsoever, he would see that your knowledge of the game doesn't matter when you don't have access to the resources to actually put your knowledge into effect. For example, when you're going against Seeker, you don't want a War Maiden dropping his defense because she's going to crit, and that's going to trigger his defense buff, and that's going to cancel out the drop defense. And so, the rational explanation is use a Madame Ceres. Well, free-to-plays can't just cycle through all these buffers and debuffers to optimize. And again, I'll show that when I get into my team. The other thing that seemed unrealistic, and part of this is because calculations are a problem in the game. I won't get into that, but I'll make a sheet so that people can understand how bad the character power calculation is. So he's using a 200,000 power team in Silver Arena, and I'll just go into my arena team here. This is the team. You can see it's my defensive team as well as my offensive team. 81,000 power. He is close to triple my power, and he is talking about how easy the arena is using champions that are 3 times as strong as what free-to-play has access to. He could literally just brute force his way through. And he does fairly mention that there are teams in Silver that do not belong in Silver. But then he kind of puts some guesses in that are completely wrong. I'll get into that in a second, but I want to criticize Plarium because they did a number of things recently that people just let slide. They don't care at all. And so they made a post the other day saying that arena is their top priority, fixing the arena, both low-end arena, and I assume they mean cheating in the arena also, because I know that's a big problem for whales. And that's their top priority, that's what they're focused on. And then they do the announcement for patch 2.2 and patch 2.3, and it's all about selling things to whales and more pay-to-play content, this and pay for that. And it's just an absolute joke. Not a single mention of anything fixing the arena. And so my question is, how can your top priority not be the very next thing you're doing? You take everything, you put it to the side because it's not your top priority, and you focus on your top priority. To give a ridiculous example, but equal to Plarium in this case, I'll probably get banned for criticizing them this much. But, if taking care of my children, I don't have any children, but theoretically, if taking care of my children was my top priority, and then I take all the money I was going to use to feed them and pay rent, and use it to buy porn, and my children die, I can't argue that they were my top priority, and then I just didn't prioritize them at all. I prioritized garbage over them. So the fact that people are like, yes, we believe in you, Plarium, you're prioritizing fixing the arena. And then they turn around, I think it was like 1 to 2 days later, showing that they clearly are not prioritizing the arena. They just said that because they know how to dog whistle people. And they said a number of other things they worried about. We don't want to do short-term solutions. We're working on complex solutions, this and that. My argument to them there is, you guys can't even get the simple solutions right. I mean, you've spent almost a year trying to fix cheating in the arena, and you haven't been able to do it. So if you can't do something simple like that, how can we sit here and wait for a more complex solution that might take 3, 6 months, 9 months just to be rolled out, only to watch it fail catastrophically or become irrelevant because you haven't paid attention to the details that have made arena bad? And you can see by the post that they made about how the arena climate has changed, and it's organic and competitive and all. It's not. Paying to win is not organic and competitive. And so that brings us to the actual problem in the arena, and we'll go through it. So when we look at teams like this, we'll just click on the first team here. One of the biggest problems in the arena is, let me actually see if I can find a better team. So there's teams like this. You can see them better here. This should not be in silver. Now, I'm not saying that they should manipulate this guy's rating and screw him over, but this is not a silver team, and so it shouldn't be in here. And I'll get into more details in a second. Back to this first team. I was hoping to find a team with Arbiter that shows like the guy's completed all the missions, he's been to Gold 4, he's maxed out some of his nodes in his Great Hall, and yet here he is back in silver, acting as a paywall. The problem here is that I cannot get a decent view of my opponent. So this 97,000, this guy could have all like trash gear with high resist and be at 97,000. Or he could have insane gear and no resist. Or these three could be really weak, like these guys don't have any real stats, and she's just max pure speed, nothing else. And then this guy's like a 60 or 70,000 power character, just waiting to nuke me for 90k as soon as I open my mouth. I'll actually fight him just to see what happens. Some of these guys I get pretty lucky against. And we're gonna click auto, because auto is gonna do exactly what I would do if I were playing manually. It's gonna go boost, defense down, nuke, and I either win or I don't. Oh, counterattack, that almost hurt. So you could see I got pretty lucky there, but you could see in this third champion, I believe it was her. I can't tell from the background anymore, but I think it was her. Oh, no, it was Haikatoon, because that's the leader slot. Anyways, you can see that I didn't crit because I don't have max crit yet on my character. But anyways, we're looking at the problems here. So the problems here are that these players are high spenders, and I'll get into how you know some of these guys are high spenders, because they have access to things free to play don't have access to, and those things are not cheap. But the problem is that they don't climb, because they may not like PvP, so they spend to get really cool really cool champions they want to use, and they use them in the dungeons. They have some fun with them, but they don't climb because they hate PvP. And so the number one problem is that Plarium is taking a page out of the book of all bad designers, and they are forcing players to do things they don't like doing to progress in the game, and that's just stupid. But one of the things that we look at is, again, this team could completely destroy me, and if I lose to them, since they're low power here, I would lose, I think, 13 points for losing to this team, and I can only gain 8, so I actually have to scroll down to pass the plus 10 teams. And then these are the only real teams I can hit if I want to climb, but I'm not going to climb against this team. So I have to refresh to stand any kind of chance, and then I jump down here. I got a little more this time, but these are fairly powerful characters. I might not actually be able to beat this. It's a little too risky, especially if this guy is incredibly strong. I could just be blown up. But we'll do it just for the laughs. We'll see what happens. He's going to go first, obviously. Nukes me. Get locked out, which is really fun. Enjoyable experience. I'm still locked out of all my stuff. I'm going to put this on auto just to speed it up, because it's going to make weird decisions, but not totally weird. I got a little bit lucky with the resist there. Now, ideally, if you watch high-level PvP, or if you just know how sets work and know what the sets are, this guy you want to bring in an immunity team, depending on his gear generally. You might be able to get away with just a high resist defensive squad, but immunity, really good. This chick, I cannot beat this chick, and it's mostly because I have a red defense down. You can see I have other characters here, but they're way too weak to participate in the arena, especially as we get this way. And so they will actually throw off the team order and not be able to assist in any way. And so this team would obviously go, she's going to nuke me. Oh wait, no, that's the other chick. This chick is just really annoying with heals. Normally they have the other black-haired chick, I think Venus or something like that. The chick that pairs with Romeo, who does that black orb nuke, and then just use her with, I believe it's defense down and weaken into Sinesha, and then Sinesha just completely destroys your whole team. I'm not sure why they use this guy. It must be to just reset the resurrection, and for the sleep. But I don't think he fits this strategy very well. But that's just me. Anyways, so we see these characters are way too strong, especially this character is way too strong for early game PvP. The 2-turn damage immunity when early game don't really have Dispel. This chick's annoying, but you can beat her by just outrushing her. This chick destroys me because I have magic damage champions, because I'm free to play, and that's primarily what you get. And I have nothing that can really counter her. I generally see her on stronger teams like this, nuking like with a defense down, she'll nuke for like 90 to 100k. Part of that's the because she's positive affinity. But yeah, and then she kills you, and then she procs her like 60k AoE and destroys you, and you can't even play the game. But that's what's happening is you have these whales that are not incentivized to climb, and so they just whale out and then sit here. This guy's also really annoying. I'll most likely lose to this team, but I will go for it anyways, because I have 3 more battles that I need to do. And so I can still lose to her. Yeah. Oh, might win this one. Oh. Yep. This should be a win now. And it's very hard to tell when you actually stand a better chance. I am working on a program that will calculate the most likely stats for each character based on their team power and based on like what each character is likely to run. Like we know this guy's going to sorry, I'm pointing with my finger. We know this guy's going to run most likely just max speed and defense, and then he's going to try to get to 100% crit to make his heal crit. This chick I hate because of the block revive, and I rely on my reviver obviously. But yeah, it's going to try and calculate based on this what each of their stats are, for all of their stats, speed, crit, damage, crit, all that stuff. And it's really no more than simple algebra to figure out what each of them are running. And so that is one of the problems, right? Is you have whales that are just stagnant and they're just sitting there. They're not climbing. They're not getting out of the way. You can't get past them. There's not a whole lot you can do. There are workarounds to this, and those workarounds are before you level up your account, like this level up here, 67. Before you level that up, try and like grind up as high as you can, get as many missions done as you possibly can, and in fact, just be like mission focused. Don't do anything else. Just mission focused, because one of the ways this arena actually works is that it finds opponents that are close-ish to your level. This guy obviously has a tremendous amount of power, so he's going to be in my rating. But if you watch a lot of the like low level, like 40s guys, they are fighting garbage characters, and they can still push to gold with no resistance. They have no business there, and they can't do it a few levels later. They can easily make the push. Okay, what's next on the list? Okay, so the problem, if we go back, well, we don't need to go back into the arena. So the problem as time goes forward, as more people come into the game, more people are playing, and more people are paying, which is more important than playing apparently. The ceiling that you can climb to as a free to play will be increasingly lowered and lowered and lowered, and eventually we'll see a time where free to play can't even get out of bronze. And this doesn't mean the odd player, not Bionic specifically, because he's kind of like ahead of the curve. But there's some people on his channel that, like, there's one guy who got Arbiter missions done free to play, although I would question that. He got them done in 5 months, and that's like, I think he had 4 maxed out nodes in the Great Hall in 5 months. And the amount of luck that a player needs to actually accomplish that is absolutely astronomical. Because my account is a year old, and I don't have a whole lot. You can see I've got a few. Some of these characters are just for dungeons, but I've got 12 level 60s, and those are my characters. This is obviously my farmer, but these are my characters that do everything. This is going to be a spider tank. just because of this passive right here, that whenever he gets poisoned, he will counterattack, and so I'll have him counterattack with high crit and lifesteal. I just got to finish leveling him up. And so there are a number of fixes you could do. I'm going to go over the ones that I think are the best in the near to medium term. These are the fixes that people don't seem to like because they really don't understand how they play out in the game. But they're fixes that eventually will happen. Whether people are, these fixes will eventually happen because they'll be necessary. Because eventually it will be literally impossible for it free to play to grind up to gold. And there are things you could do to the arena, but they would ruin the arena. And so what is important to recognize that the arena is not the problem. The global arena is not the problem. The problems stem from the fact that the game was designed in a different climate that it exists in today, and Plarium's inability to recognize that the game would change over time. I don't know how they couldn't do that, but they've obviously shown their catastrophic failures. They don't recognize that it's going to change. And so this is like a total surprise to them that the arena has become terrible and that free-to-play can't get through the missions anymore. I still have quite a ways to go. Reach Gold 1, Fuse Relic Keeper. I may actually not even have to fuse Relic Keeper because I already have a Relic Keeper. He's in here somewhere. Here he is, right here. I already have him, so I rolled him from an Ancient Shard, so I'll see when it comes to it. So potential fixes. My recommendations for potential fixes, and again, we're looking at near to medium term. These will give you, some sort of alleviation from the burden and the constant barrage of complaints from the community for about the next year or so while you come up with longer term solutions. And that is to make PvP not mandatory, right? Let the players who want to enjoy PvP, who want to be competitive and they want to focus on that, let them do that. Don't force players to PvP, because they're really just going to end up leaving the game. And I know Plarium's focus is on short-term profit. They don't really care if players leave, but just make it not mandatory. It's a simple change, and that does mean remove the climbing missions like this one. I shouldn't have to reach Gold 1 in Classic Arena. This has no impact whatsoever on my progression. Has literally no impact. I don't know how they can even argue. It's like they don't play their own game, because reaching Gold 1, like I could reach Gold 1 theoretically as a level 10 player. Before I can even do Dungeon 10, I could reach Gold 1. I could reach Gold 4, depending on how lucky I get. So it does not measure progression. It doesn't do anything. It's just a waste of time, and it's honestly a way to paywall. Now this was different back when everybody was closer in stats. This was quite a bit different. You could easily do this, so you can take that out. I don't mind leaving in the Great Hall bonus. Here we go. These missions. I think you should just change the name of this, but you still want to upgrade 2 bonuses to level 6. And I argue that Great Hall points should be distributed. Actually, I don't think you can see the point gain here. I think you gain 5 points or 4 points for Gold 4. I'm going to say 5 points. You guys will understand what I'm talking about. But you should be able to get 5 points. Like if I do Ice Golem, I beat Ice Golem, I get 5 gold points. And then, as I go down in difficulty, I get fewer and fewer and fewer points, all the way down to 1 bronze point at stage 1. And so that will let players it will let whales double dip because they can get the points from farming PvE and farming PvP, so they'll progress the Great Hall faster, so they're not taking a hit there. But it will let PvE players or free-to-play players achieve a more enjoyable state of the game, faster, right? Because they're not like massively handicapped by not having any Great Hall stats, and so they can do faster runs. They'll have stronger characters, and they're not you're not forcing them to PvP and pull their hair out over something that they can't do because they have no business being there, because it's honestly not designed for them to do it because it's so pay focused. Now, there are a number of other solutions. I think these are actually terrible solutions, but we're going to go over them anyways. One of the solutions is to make it so that it's like faction wars, where I can fight this guy, and I don't lose any points for losing to him, and I don't lose any tokens for losing to him. Actually, I'm just going to fight this guy just for kicks, because he's mocking me. And so I can go in, I can really experiment and learn the arena without being punished for failing so miserably. But then, of course, you get into the debate of like, where do you stop doing that? Do you stop it in gold 1? Do you stop it in gold 4? Do you create like a buffer tier where it stops after gold 4, between gold 4 and platinum? So players have a more risky version of PvP. The other side of this is obviously to what the hell is this? Get out of here. The other side of this is obviously to, I won some battles. That's fascinating. Unfortunately, these people lost points. The other side of this is it's just farming me. Anyways, I'm going to start getting distracted. The other side of this is obviously like, you don't want, you could not lose points on defense, but again, that's stupid, because then it's like, where do you actually stop that? You really ruin the essence of PvP in this game. So I don't think that's an appropriate solution. You could do what other games do, which is to fracture the PvP, but then you don't have global PvP. You have all of these shards, and then people are asking, like, oh, my shard is too competitive, I want to transfer to an easier one. And some players will get like defaulted into a brand new shard, and so they'll be max ranked, and they can just fly up in power because they have no competition. If you've played Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, you'll be familiar with that. I watched a guy do that. He started a new account to show people how easy his strategy was to progress in the game, and he happened to be the first person in a brand new PvP shard, so he defaulted to rank 1, and he was getting, I think it was like 10 times the resources of a normal free-to-play player. And then once he got to ships, he was defaulted to rank 1 in ships also, and so then he was getting 20 times the resources of a free-to-play player. It was just ridiculous. But anyways, that's not this game. I actually think this arena system is a bit better than Star Wars. Oh, see, this Mountain King, that's their whole team right there. Yeah, and so there are other weird solutions. They're just like, they're not effective solutions. They end up being more of like changes. And so I'm going to say, yeah, just make it not mandatory. People who want to play PvP will play and will focus, will devote the time. But the other problem that needs to be looked at, and I don't think Plarium's going to do it because they're a little on the greedy side, is that, let me lose to this guy real fast, is that free-to-play needs to be rebuilt as a whole. And what I mean is, and let me just end this battle. Oh yeah, you guys are doing some damage there. This battle's so long. 20 seconds of my life just down the drain. Alright, fantastic. Okay, so we go into here. Oh, actually no. We're going to go into here. So, free-to-play rebuilding. So I think acquiring champions needs to be changed, right? I have a champion vault here, full of characters, obviously. Cannot pay for this, it is too expensive. I cannot pay to expand this, it is too expensive. But they need to make champion acquisition not purely based on gambling. And what I don't mean is put in an idiotic system like this. This is insanely stupid. Let me go find this guy. He's in the arena. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. You can see I'm not summoning this guy because it's an idiotic waste of time. This character will take me half a year to acquire one character. I need 5 characters to build a team. I'm not spending 2.5 years farming characters to have one team. That is insanely stupid. If you're gonna do something like this, you make these global shards that can be used on any champion in the game. Focusing, and this is just this champion is trash. You wouldn't even use him on like the one dungeon he's going to be good for, because he's going to be trash. And so then we get into the next problem. Let's go back to the champion pool. You can see this champion here. This is one of the champions I use in almost all of my teams because he's incredibly powerful. But he's not booked because I'm free to play. In 1 year, I've been able to book 2 champions, 2 epic champions. Oh, not that one, and this one not even fully booked. But yeah, two epic champions in a year of playing the game. It's absolutely insane how paywalled the game is. And so all of these champions in here, great for PvP. This character right here, fantastic. Put her in a max speed and a stun set with decent accuracy, especially if you have 2 of them, then just lock out the enemy team. This champion right here, I don't think she's the best. She's the best at swarming, or whatever they call that in this game. I think it's ally assist or something like that. She's the best at that. But you can see other champions. This champion's great. Don't have books. Not great. This champion, Cardinal, fantastic. Arguably one of the best rezzers, one of the best non-legendary rezzers in the game. Can't use her. Don't have the books. Zargala, don't have books. Don't have books. This thing, I don't think it's that great. Sinesha, don't have books. These 3 idiots don't have books. These free-to-play characters, you don't have books to use them. So, what? I got another miscreated monster. Like, I have Talia too. What are you going to do with all these epics? They don't have books. They're without the books. They're weaker than their rare counterparts. So, there needs to be more focused champion acquisition, so I can go for the characters that matter. And then put in, you can see here, extremely limit, starving for books. Because there's no way for a free-to-play player to get books. There needs to be, and we're talking, it is as simple as doing your quests. Oh, geez, now I'm going to have to use my energy. It's as simple as, these dungeons right here. Make this, because this is not where the, don't make this don't make that the tower. Make this like the grand library or something like that. And it's the book equivalent of a potion dungeon, where and then of course you have to overhaul the book system so that you can go here and then down here, like Ascension, you can create new books or new lexicons, whatever you want to call it, so that you can turn rare books into epic books and legendary books. I would recommend a slightly lower conversion rate than potions, but if they make it exactly the same as the potion dungeons, it should be fine. Because I forget there's some way you occasionally get legendary books, but you can see I have 4. If we look at Syl of the Drakes, who I do think is an amazing champion, not just because of this here. She has a great kit. This skill here is incredible. 35% chance to stun, hits 2 times, which actually increases your chance to stun. Put her in a stun set. That's another, like 30%, 20%, 18%, something like that. So that boosts her up even more. Give her the 5% bonus from the defensive tree. That boosts her up even more. So she could be a stun machine, 3-turn cooldown, very good. But she takes 4, 5, 2. So she takes 11 books to max out her kit. Otherwise, you have a 6-turn res. It's 30% weaker. Here you lose 10% damage and you lose 20% buff chance. Here you lose 15% buff and 20% damage and a cooldown. And so this actually makes it 25% less damage plus 20% less damage. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so the characters are so much weaker that they're not even worth using. And so that's where the real problem in the arena lies. But that's a much more complex and global fix that, Plarium, they only care about making money. So they're not going to put in a global solution like, making champions less gambling and more easily acquired. Even if it were like you're like double or triple the rate at which blue shards are given out. So, but I really think targeted champion farming is the future, because eventually, like, new players will be so far behind that there will be no point in them even playing the game. The other thing we want to look at, and so yeah, books farming. That's incredibly crucial, and book farming won't be as impactful economically to Plarium because it still costs energy. I forget how much these take. 12 energy to farm some books. So whales will still buy the energy and farm and a lot of junk like that. But free-to-plays will be able to get in there and do some work. The other thing we want to look at is item acquisition. So I've done the calculation. I think I've posted it on all the main content creators. But you have 9 sets of gear here. Let's assume that I do 20 runs a day. I think you do 27 total. I have to do the math again. Let's assume I do 20 runs a day. If I do my 20 runs on stage 20, which you can see I have on auto farm, you have a 5% chance, and this next part is important, you have a 5% chance per day to get just the most basic form of the gear you're trying to get. So if I go to my characters, I really should hit that bastion button, but I'm an idiot. If I go to my characters and pick a blank character down here, and I say, I want speed boots, right? I want speed boots of speed artifact set. That I have a 5% chance just to get these boots with this primary. None of these substats matter. The correct substats exponentially increase the unlikelihood of you ever getting that piece of gear. And this is fine, if they gave us, 20,000 energy a day, so we can do hundreds of runs a day. Perfectly fine with that. But when you have limited resources, and your resources almost don't matter, or they theoretically don't matter, I should say that. There's really no reason to play the game because you're just gambling. And if you look at, from whoever's watching it, if you look at my channel, you'll see there are a number of videos dedicated to Dungeon Defenders 2 because they did the same trash design on their shard system. And I made those videos to show them that you have a statistical average, I believe it is on the 29th piece of gear, or the 29th run in that game, you should get a shard. I showed them in 60 hours of farming. 60 hours. Each map takes 10 minutes to do. I show in 60 hours of farming, I got nothing. Which means that my input in the game, which makes it's the very essence of the game, is that my input needs to matter to the game. My input didn't matter at all. So it's just a simulation in time wasting or gambling. And that's how this game is. The fact that free to play cannot adequately farm gear, and there's no workaround to create the gear, which I have no faith in this new system that they're coming up with. It means I cannot build and improve I cannot rely on any way to build and improve my team. It's all left up to gambling, and you'll see the effects of that. Kale here. This is my Kale. You will see that I am not at 100% crit. Part of that is because I mainly use this guy as a poisoner in the clan boss. But he's also my nuker. But that aside, these two pieces of gear here are two pieces of gear that you get in week 1 playing the game. And I have not been able to replace them in a year. In a year of farming, I have not been able to replace those pieces of gear. That is how bad. I haven't spent a year farming, but in a year of playing, I think I've spent since April. I've been farming Dungeon 20. I stopped to get that Kreela thing. But in a year, I'm still wearing the gear I got for free on week 1 because I can't get better gear. And you can see, I'll show you guys again. Like Dragon 20 is on farm. It's ugly. It is ugly. I will show it playing out. It is one of the ugliest things you will ever see. But it wins 100% of the time. And I sure hope it doesn't lose this time just to show me up, make me look bad. But I can win just 5% chance per day. So if you divide that by actually that calculation to show each individual percentage may be wrong. But the way that you calculate these things is that you take the percent chance that you'll get a piece of gear. So let's say I have a 1 in 9 chance to get a speed artifact, and then I have a 1 in 6 chance for that to be boots, and then I have let's say a 1 in 5 chance for that to be speed. I think, HP, percent HP. I think I have a 1 in 7 chance for that to be, let's see. HP percent, attack percent, defense percent, speed. Yeah, so 1 in 7 chance for it to be speed. So you multiply all of those together, and those are your chance to get that specific item before all the substats. And then what you do is you take the opposite of that, and so let's say I have a 1% chance to get that item. You would take the 99% and multiply it, to the exponent of the number of runs that you're doing. And that will help you figure out what the likelihood of you getting gear is. To give an you can see my team's just getting crapped on, but resurrect is everybody's friend, and so to give an easier example, if you take a coin, right, and you want to say, what is the likelihood that I flip 4 heads in a row? Well, you just say I have 50% chance. I know some people argue that there's like a microscopic extra chance to flip tails or some crap like that. I have a 50% chance to get heads. I want heads 4 in a row, so you just take 50% because that's your chance to get tails. In this case, you could use either side because they're equal. 50% to the 4th power, and that will tell you it is like 6.25% chance for that to happen, something weird like that. And these kinds of calculations are used to figure out like what are the odds of you having to. I was about to make a suicide comment, but that would get my video demonetized. But it's the odds of like if you want to go and play roulette, for example. You figure out, okay, what are my odds? This is my strategy, so I can play up to 5 times. What are the odds that I'm going to lose 5 times? And so you say, okay, if I bet on black 5 times in a row, what are the odds that it hits red 5 times in a row? And in that case, you'd take, I think it's like 46% or something like that. You take the other side of that, 54%, that's the chance of it going against you, and you'd say 54% to the power of 5, and that gives you the chance that it's just going to go against you the entire time. And it's some low chance, like just over 3%, maybe 4% chance for that to happen. So it could happen, and that's how we calculate and we theorize. Because as I've said multiple times, you can theoretically just never get anything done on this game, because there's no point at which it is fixed that, like if I roll a bunch of shards, there's no guarantee that I will ever get a legendary. And so the idea of like buying shards, even if I were to buy all sacred shards, I could never pull a legendary. It would be astronomically low, but I could theoretically never pull a legendary champion no matter how long I played this game. And that is why things need to not be left up to gambling. Every game that has ever done this sort of system where they just leave everything up to gambling has had to fix it, because they lose their player base in droves when their players get sick and tired of getting screwed over. For example, World of Warcraft, by the time they hit, I know they had other issues. They went to Mists of Pandaria, and Mists of Pandaria was just screwing people over on loot, and players were quitting because they're sitting there and like, oh yeah, I'm doing this raid every week, I'm never getting anything out of it. This game's just a waste of my time now. So they tried this idiotic system of increasing the likelihood that you get something for doing a boss, and so what ended up happening is you need an item from the first boss, you do the first boss, you get nothing, but then you have a higher chance of getting an item from the next boss, and you eventually get something. It re-rolls your chance back down to, like, I assume 0, because that's what I had. Re-rolls your chance to get anything down to the bottom, and so not only did you get screwed because you didn't get the item that you've been trying to get, and the only reason you're even raiding, only reason you're even playing the game, but the boss that gave you an item worth less than the gold he would have given you had he not given you an item. And so I always recommend, a kind of system where players are making some form of progress towards something, and then player value theoretically is derived from the player's ability to use those resources. So if we look in the index, if I want Valkyrie, I should be able to work towards Valkyrie, towards unlocking Valkyrie. I should be able to take my items here, take back on this chick. I should be able to say, okay, she wants, and I happen to have boots. I happen to have boots right here, but she wants boots with speed set, speed primary. Okay, if I don't have any of those, I should be able to take other crappy items that I don't want, and instead of selling them, I should be able to disenchant them like Hearthstone and create some kind of essence. So let's say that I take, all of my blue items here, and I disenchant them into like 5-star blue essence, and then I create these boots out of some number of essence that I have saved up. And so that all of the farming that I do is progressing me towards getting better items, instead of like these boots right here. They're trash. Unless I'm building like a garbage character who needs nothing but crit damage and accuracy, these boots are trash. And they sell for 18,000. Like, great, but I can't get the time back, and silver isn't really valuable in this game aside from upgrading. But if I'm not getting the item, then the silver isn't valuable at all because I have nothing to spend the upgrade money on. And so you kind of run into this problem. I think I ranted about everything. I meant to be more informative, but I think I ended up just ranting. Anyways, this is my great haul. Don't get mad. It doesn't look good. I was in bronze for a while, so I spent my points. This is from the missions. Haven't done the second one yet because I'm getting pushed out of silver. I don't really do much arena anymore because it's stupid. And so this is after a year of playing. And my my characters are they're not the worst. Like, these are my dungeon characters, not this guy, 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 and this guy are my dungeon characters. So I've used about 9 of 12 for my dungeons. Have my farmer here. And then I have really strong champions. These guys, most of these top guys were for Cantra, but I missed one of the events, and so I couldn't do the fusion. And I think I missed one of the ones for Basher, or I would have Basher in here. Did you see? I've got these 4 legendaries from shards. Just dumb luck. Actually, one of these is from the dailies. Really, really powerful champions, but free to play. So can't use any of them because they're too weak without books. Some of these can be used in really dumb strategies, like this is Taurus, I think, who does the unkillable and poison. They can be used in really, really dumb strategies. A bunch of these guys, this guy, or Talia, Royal Guard, 2 of these things, 1 of these things, 2 of these things. I think that's Brask. But yeah, can't use any of them. These guys are, I just have 1 of each rare. I think I have most rares in the game. But limited resources, so I only level up the ones that actually win. If you go in here, you can see I'm missing this one and this one. So I have almost all of them. Missing her. Anyways, that was my rant, and I know I criticized Murder Inc.'s approach. I criticized Murder Inc., I should say. Most of his videos, like, for high level content, I could not compete with the guy. He knows way more about like high level arena and things like that. But for low level arena, I don't think he understands the limited resources that a free to play player has, and so they can't just like make a better team and go win. So I don't think he made his video with bad intentions to just troll people and say that everyone in silver is bad, that's why they're not climbing. I think it's just he doesn't understand that they just don't have the resources to do what comes naturally to him. So when he sees that he needs a different strategy to win, he just goes and does a different strategy. When I need a different strategy to win, I just don't win because I can't do a different strategy. That said, I have not beaten. I've beaten all these other ones. Fire Knight, 20. Ice Golem, 20. Spider, I'm only on 18 because I don't have a tank. So this is the best. You can, and I wanted to talk about Spider. Actually, you can actually nuke your way through Spider. I'll be making a video. It will just be on math though, because I don't have the characters and the gear to actually show you nuking your way through Spider. So I'll show you mathematically that you can nuke your way through the Spider. Anyways, with all of that in mind, hopefully you guys can get through some of the ranting and hopefully this helps. I know Plarium won't care about it because it's not going to make them any money. But for people who are wondering what the actual problem is, I'll just reiterate it. It is whales that are not climbing, but they're also not inactive, so they're just kind of sitting there. And then, of course, the limitations put on free-to-play are I think they're a little too extreme. And I think going forward, free-to-play need to be, I'm going to guess, at least tripled in resources. Otherwise, they're going to be so far behind in the game that it's going to have the same problem that a lot of other games have, where you feel too stagnant too quickly, and so it just drives players away, and it really does affect the end game revenue of Plarium, because I'm free to play, but I'm the kind of player that I'm going to go in, I'm going to beat the game free to play, and then if I see things I like, then I'll become pay to play, to kind of say, hey, Plarium, I think you did a great job here, so I'm actually going to spend money on your product. And so there's a lot of cool stuff. I generally don't like buying stuff that impacts the game. If I could do like Valkyrie, maybe get her with a cooler shield or something, some cool novel things. If you could change the color of her tattoos, that would be cool. But yeah, a lot of novel things like that. I would also like if you could go in and maybe they had like a potion or something that you could buy that lets you, or some kind of buff you could buy, and it was like on the hunt, and it lets you increase the chance at which specific target, so you could target loot in dungeons, and it lasted 24 hours, or maybe it only lasts an hour or something like that, so you can really like fine tune your farming. Things like that would be really cool to buy. But gambling, like, I'm not going to pay for a 0.5% chance or a 6% chance to get a legendary. Oh, hell no. That's ridiculous to me. I'm not going to gamble. So put in a better system, especially this is the last note of the rant, because this video is way too long. Especially if I'm gambling and I'm just getting a husk of the character, and so I have to gamble for the character, and then I have to buy the experience, then I have to buy the books, and I have to buy the potions. It's just not worth it. If I'm paying that much money trying to unlock a character, I better get everything included with that character, or just sell me the character for cheap and then let me work on it, or give me the character for cheap, I should say, because I'm not spending money. Anyway, okay, now the rant is definitely over.